Okay, so now that we've gone through our first set of writing terms, we're going to wrap up with our second set of writing terms. Remember, you should have your writing terms worksheet out in front of you, and you should be taking notes as we go along. And then after we're done, you're going to be filling in your own examples from books, stories, movies, novels, poems, whatever you can think of to help you describe these terms. So why don't we start by taking a look at different character types. So we're going to focus predominantly on the protagonist and the antagonist and what is the difference between them. So a protagonist is the leading or major character, usually the one we are meant to identify with or sympathize with. It's the main character in the story. So the story typically circles around this character's experiences, and the audience is invited in to see the world from his or her perspective. Um, it's not necessarily a good guy, although most of the time the protagonist is some kind of hero. So, for example, in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, the Grinch is the protagonist. The story circles around him. Now, he's not necessarily a good guy, but spoiler alert, he becomes a good guy in the end. Most stories have one, but it's entirely possible to have a story that weaves together multiple perspectives or different narrative threads that all get tied together in the end. So I recently listened to this book on Audible. I think it's called When We Were Gone or something like that. Oh, Before We Were Yours. And each chapter, it flip-flops back and forth between two different protagonists. So one protagonist will have one chapter, and then the next chapter, it's a different protagonist. And then at the end of the story, their stories come together and are weaved together. So it is possible to have weaving perspectives. The audience is generally supposed to empathize with this person and understand the motivations that propel this character to do what he or she does. And it comes from the Greek or the ancient Greek word for the one who plays the first part or the chief actor. So, in opposition to the protagonist, we have the antagonist. So, this is a character or group which stands in opposition to the protagonist. It's the opponent, the competitor, or the rival, and the character or force that goes against the protagonist. It's typically the opposite of the main character. Sometimes it's a villain, but not always. So, back to our example of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, Cindy Lou Who is the antagonist. She stands in opposition to what the Grinch wants. Every story has at least one protagonist, but not all stories have a very clear antagonist. But an antagonist is really important to help make a story more interesting because it provides conflict in the story. So if the protagonist got every single thing that they wanted and no one stood in their way or there was no real problem, it wouldn't really be a story. So it comes from a Greek word which means competitor, rival, or opponent. And if you want to help yourself remember it, remember it starts with ant, as in anti, so against. And it can either be an individual character who is very easily identified, such as Cindy Lou Who in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, but it could also be a group of people or an institution, for example, a clique, a spy organization, or a government. Or it could be a character flaw in the protagonist. For example, the Grinch, he has a character flaw of having a heart that's too small and hating Christmas. Or it could be an eternal or impartial force, for example, a natural disaster, societal norms, God doing something in the story could be considered the antagonist. So like I said, it's not always the villain. It could sometimes be a good person like Cindy Lou Who or God, but it's the person who stands in opposition to the main character. So on your worksheet, can you think of a story and let me know who the protagonist is and who the antagonist is? Make sure you let me know which story you're thinking of. Okay, now that we have talked about the two main character types, we're going to take a look at the basic literature styles. And these are the literature styles that we are going to be focusing on in this class as well, except for one of them, which we won't be. So let's start By taking a look at each one, we're going to talk about poetry, memoirs, children's books, short stories, and the novels. And we're not going to be doing a novel in this class, predominantly because we don't have time, and two, I don't have time to read all of your novels. But I wanted to give a definition of a novel because it helps us understand the difference between that and a short story and a children's book and a memoir. So let's start with poetry. Poetry is a type of literature based on the interplay of words and rhythm. It often employs rhyme, so rhyming words like cat, hat, sat, and meter, which is a set of rules governing the number and arrangement of syllables in each line. And we'll talk more about this when we get to our poetry unit. In poetry, words are typically strung together to form sounds, images, and ideas that might be too complex or abstract to directly describe. Memoirs, which will be our second unit in this course, comes from the French word for memory or reminiscence. And I don't speak French, so I'm not even going to try to attempt to say the word. But it's basically a genre of literature where the author writes about his or her personal memories, such as childhood. And it's a collection of memories that someone writes about their own life. And we're going to work on a memoir. We're going to read a memoir and then work on our own memoirs later. The next story style we're going to take a look at are children's books. And we will be doing a children's book unit as well. So children's books can have illustrations or not. They are typically designed for younger audiences, and they're usually meant to be read out loud or even performed. They're inherently more dramatic. They're typically a lot shorter than short stories, which we'll talk about in a moment. And when you turn the page, it's a new picture or a new scene. And it often plays with words as a key factor. So, for example, if you think about Dr. Seuss books, he plays with rhyming in those words. One fish, two fish, blue fish, yellow fish, or something like that. And playing with words and things like that is an element of many children's books. And our last unit in this course is going to be on short stories. So I want to just provide you with a quick definition for a short story. Short stories are different than children's books because they're more fully developed themes, but they're significantly shorter and less elaborate than novels. They're brief fictional work. For example, anecdotes, fables, fairy tales, and parables are examples. They're usually centered around one main or single event, and typically they're 10 to 20 pages maximum. Your short stories can be a lot small or a lot shorter than that, but they can be that maximum. And then the other basic style is a novel. So a novel is longer than a short story. It's a narrative story of length. It's a relatively long work of fiction, and it's obviously different between that and a short story. The main differences are the length, but also the complexity and the time span. So, for example, a short story typically happens over a few hours or days, where a novel can take place over years and generations. So, Lord of the Flies, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1984, The Great Gatsby, Dorian Gray, those are all examples of novels. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the main basic literature styles, let's take a look at conflict. Now, our protagonist and sometimes our antagonist will have different conflicts, either internal conflicts or external conflicts. So let's take a look at what is an internal conflict and then what is an external conflict. So, an internal conflict is a struggle that occurs within a character's mind or heart. It's usually an ethical or emotional question, and it's something that happens within the character. So, sometimes you'll see like the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and it's kind of the debate between those two within yourself. An external conflict, however, is the struggle that happens between characters as an outside force, such as nature or another, and it drives the action of the plot. Everything is typically done by the characters or some other outside force. So, as a very simple explanation, in Cinderella, we have Cinderella's external conflict between her and her stepmother and stepsisters. as in they don't want her to go to the ball and they're mean to her. The next two terms I want to take a look at are the difference between fiction and nonfiction. We will predominantly be writing fiction in our creative writing class, although our memoirs will be an example of nonfiction. So let's take a look at each definition. So fiction are literature created by imagination. For example, mysteries, science fiction, romance, fantasies, crime thrillers, stories, novels, myth, legends, and fairy tales. They typically have a plot, setting, and characters which have been created in the author's mind or imagination. They can be based on actual facts or events, but typically have some imagination intertwined within them. They're typically subjective. They have different points of view, and they come from the author's ideas. So, The Handmaid's Tale, Harry Potter, The Outsider, and many other fictitious stories that come from the imagination. Next, we have nonfiction. And nonfiction literature is typically based in fact, so your memoir will be about your own personal story. Examples are biographies, histories, journalism, essays, cookbooks, self-help, languages, travel, true crime, etc. So this summer I read the book Educated by Tara Westover. There's a picture of it there. And it's her personal memoir and story about how she grew up being homeschooled, sort of, in a very restrictive home setting. It's an incredible book. But it just is a nonfiction book because it's her own personal story that actually did happen. Typically, nonfiction books will lose credibility if they're fabricated, so if information is made up. They are objective and are based on factual reports of true events. And typically they're the author's point of view. So in Educated, Tara Westover is sharing her personal view on her life story, on her family, on becoming educated, on homeschooling, etc. Okay, let's wrap up our terms and definitions for today by looking at the four main writing styles and just going through a definition of each of those, and then you can come up with your own examples. So an expository is the first one we're going to take a look at. And then we will take a look at descriptive, then persuasive, then narrative. So let's start with expository. Now, the one thing I wanted to say about this term expository is when it comes to writing terms, it actually has two different definitions. So definition one has to do with when it's used in literature, like fiction. And then definition two is when it's used in a different way. So I'll go through those two different definitions. So first, an expository paragraph exposes things about a subject. It's also sometimes called an information paragraph because it gives information about a person, place, thing, or idea. It introduces background information about the setting, character, and plot. Exposition can be presented through a monologue, dialogue, or narrator, thoughts, and more. It introduces the character, setting, and story's main conflict. So, for example, in most fiction books, the first chapter or the first couple of pages will give you background information, like who is this character, where do they live, what's going on, how old are they, what's the setting, what's the time frame, just to give you the basic details of what's going on. So in your nonfiction or in your fiction short stories, in your memoir, sometimes you have to give the expository paragraph, like the basic information. Now, it can be done in an interesting way, but it's giving you the details. An expository writing, however, typically refers to writing which is commonly employed in school settings. For examples, essays, research papers, or comparisons. And the point of it is to provide more understanding and to describe a specific thing so that the reader can learn more information about it. So if you were to write an essay about Hamlet, it could be an example of an expository writing. Okay, the second writing style we're going to take a look at the definition for is descriptive. So descriptive paragraphs paint a picture. It describes a person, place, thing, or idea, and it is typically performed to express emotion, display feelings, or merely as a fun exercise. It may or may not have a deeper meaning or purpose. Poetry is an example of descriptive, so you can do a whole poem on a red wheelbarrow. There's actually a poem that goes, "So much depends on the red wheelbarrow." And that's a descriptive act, like you're talking about the red wheelbarrow. The next one we're going to take a look at is persuasive. So persuasive is different than expository because the point of it is to persuade. Writing to persuade involves offering not only facts, but also a slant that directs the reader to make a commitment or decision. It leads the reader to do what the writer requests of him or her. This form of nonfiction writing encourages careful word choice, the development of logical arguments, and a cohesive summary. The main components are logic and an emotional appeal. So, for example, a persuasive essay would be when a Tichy student writes an essay explaining why they personally feel like school should be shortened by an hour. They provide logical ideas, but then have a slanted opinion to try to persuade people to believe what they believe. And then finally is narrative, and we'll be using narrative throughout this course as well. The narrative paragraph tells a story just like a narrator in a play. It has whole pieces. It is a story, and this term can be used as a noun or an adjective. So remember, a noun is a person, place, or thing. So when the word narrative is used as a noun, it refers to a story that's being told. And when it is an adjective, it describes the form or style of the story being told. So remember, an adjective is a word that describes a noun. Like a noun is a hat, and the adjective of a hat could be it was black. So when the word narrative is used as an adjective, it is describing the type of story. So that story is a narrative, basically meaning that it is being told as a story. Narratives catalog events, and it typically is characterized by a main character in a setting who engages with a problem or event in a significant way. So it's a storyline or a narrative. Okay, so in this video, we've gone through a lot of different terms which you will find on your worksheet. So I encourage you to continue filling those in. We've talked about protagonists and antagonists. We've talked about the difference between internal and external conflicts and the differences between fiction and nonfiction. We've gone through the basic writing styles and types: poetry, memoirs, children's books, short stories, and novels. And then we wrapped up by the four main writing styles, which are expository, descriptive, persuasive, and narrative. So to finish your worksheet, make sure you come up with some examples of these different terms, and don't forget to let me know which book, story, novel, poem, children's book, etc. your example is coming from. Let me know if you have any questions too.